Hello everyone, welcome back. Today what I wanted to do was go over a little bit of the process of how my friend and I are going to be setting up our podcast. So in this episode, what I want to kind of go over is lighting, the camera setups, composition, everything that really kind of puts it all together for us to get it accomplished tonight. So I'm going to spin you around here. First, what I want to talk about is the camera setup. I'm using a 2-camera setup, two A6100s. This one I have a stand for. This one I do not have a stand for yet. It actually broke, so we're kind of MacGyvering that one. So I'm looking to get two angles and kind of mash them up with each other. These are the seating arrangements. I'm going to be sitting on the couch. He's going to be sitting on the chair. So required. I didn't like the background as the garage door, so I just threw up the black wall. Okay, so now that we have the cameras angled the way we want them and we've got the shot lined up and composed with the way we want it, next is we work on the lighting. First, I'm using the two GVM lights as key lights here, trying to get the profiles the way that I want them, using around 3200 Kelvin. The MS shoots at a pretty orange lighting, so that's why I'm kind of matching that. Having this really, really dim though, so it just gives a little bit of fill light on the side of our faces here, but I really want the brightest parts to actually be the opposite side, so I'm going to film and shoot on the shadow side. Okay, folks, now the third thing that we like to work on is audio. After you set up the camera, you set up the lighting, audio will be the third thing that you want to take over. In this scenario, I'm using two Movo mics that are running directly into one of the A6100 cameras. This makes syncing in post so much easier, given that the audio is going directly into the camera at a higher quality. Now, the other camera is going to pick up room noise and the other audio so that I'll be able to synchronize them, nest them, and kind of do a multicam sequence later on in Premiere Pro. I've found that the audio has been the hardest part of this entire thing, and running the mics directly into the camera has been the easiest process afterwards. But am I still not getting the best quality because I'm using something other than an aux cord, or that I'm using something other that I'm only using a 35 millimeter jack microphone? But this is working on a budget and working to accomplish things in a budgeted way. Do not skimp on audio. This is going to be the hardest part, but it is going to be one of the most crucial when it comes to delivering content or sort of handing out information in any sort of way. If people can't hear you clearly, they're not going to stay tuned. They're not going to want to listen. So don't slouch in this section of setting up for your podcast, for your videography. This part is going to pay you back the more time that you spend on it and try to learn it.
All right, folks, so now that you've seen us put it all together, this is the results of the work.
Man, I want to tell you, man, thanks for letting me be involved in this process.
Yeah, bud.
First, I want to start by just telling you I'm proud of you. I thought this was going to start out as like a goofy hobby and something that just kind of you started and then you were just done in a couple of weeks.
It felt like it was going to start out as a goofy hobby.
Yeah.
When I first got the camera,
yeah,
it was generally only to just take pictures of my daughter.
Right.
That was really the end just take for it.
Right.
And it wasn't until I finally got the camera and I reminded myself what it was like in high school, in class, trying to capture the photos that I really wanted.
Right.
And it just kind of all came back to me, and I've just been hitting the ground running from there.
What do you feel was the catalyst to make the transition from just taking cute pictures of your daughter for the gram to actually wanting to capture those moments for other people?
I think it kind of came down to realizing that I might have a niche in this field. And my goal now is to create and provide for my family.
Right.
And I've always wanted to have the job that I love, because I always felt like if you love what you're doing, you're not really working. And I finally found that with this. And by finding it, it gave me an outlet to where I feel like I'm going to have the opportunity to provide for my family the way I want to, while still enjoying doing it.
Right. And you can tell, you can certainly tell some forms of art or some projects that you work on, you can tell like the degrees of passion. Now let's take money out of the equation for a minute. And you had all the gear that you had. Correction, you had all the gear that you wanted.
Right.
What do you think you would enjoy shooting the most?
Street photography. I love the genre. I love the effect. I love the mood of street photography. That's like, it started out with photos of my daughter. And then I realized, you know what? Street photography is something that's just really cool. It's a way to present my art that I feel and I wanted to be out there. And started dabbling, and I found a medium that really helped me fulfill the niche that I wanted to be in. Now it's kind of gone off the rails from there, and I'm trying to find a little bit more of an avenue at this point. But if I had all the money, I had all the gear I wanted, I would just want to be out there capturing moments of life. And that's what I think is the best part of photography, is capturing those small moments.
There's something that you've been able to do as you kept doing photography and working with couples and trying to capturing the moments in more practical ways, not so much the street photography, but capturing other people's moments that, you know, with the clients you've been picking up. You've been able to make people, because you've been working with a lot of people I know personally, right? Because that's our first tier of customers, right?
You always start at home, I think, with this kind of stuff.
So the people that I know you're working with are people that I know to be shy, reserved, and you take these shy people and you really bring out the pretty or bring out the energy in these people. Talk about that process, man. How do you get these people to really open up to you and show that light in the pictures?
If I can make somebody feel something with my photos, then I've taken the photo that I wanted. When I edit, when I look at photos, when I'm looking to capture a feeling, it starts with the basics, obviously, of photography, but you have to know the person. And I think, like you said, I've done a lot of friends and family, so helping know people has created a nice vibe or a type of feeling when we're doing those photos. The trust is there already, so shooting with people that already trust you and can already feel kind of comfortable, you feel that in the photos.
So when you have that perfect picture, right, and you feel like you captured that moment, and you got to forgive me because I'm like an amateur camera guy. Is it, how much of that do you feel is technical, getting the right lighting and the right, I guess, like the right settings, and how much of that do you believe is actual energy?
For me personally, it does start with knowing the settings, knowing the basics, because that's where my confidence comes from. And if I don't feel confident, I know that the model or the subject a live subject isn't going to feel as confident. So when I know that I've got everything the exact way that I want it, and I can kind of forget about the camera and the settings, and now we're having a moment, that's when the pictures come out the way that I want them. And kind of produce something that I'm happy with, and the client can be happy with as well. And we almost kind of forget that we're taking pictures, and that's always the ultimate goal. Like, we're just kind of having a conversation, and I've said in previous episodes, you know, just have a conversation with the camera. That's for dialogue, but it also works for having your photo taken. As soon as you feel comfortable and you know that your photographer can extract that out of you, it all just kind of has come together.
So if I was an amateur artist or photographer and I wanted to allot a certain amount of time between taking pictures and just building rapport, like how long of a session would I plan to actually get comfortable with my client? And
it's a great question, because I don't think it's just one answer. There's a different way for every photographer, and I think the more you know your basics, the more you're comfortable with your equipment, and the more you're prepared to create the shot that you want ahead of time, changes that dynamic each time with you and your client.
So what do you feel, even just starting out? I know there's other photographers that are more expensive, more experienced, but at this point in the game, what can you offer your clients that most people can't?
I think I can offer them my look. I think personability. I think because I have a smaller client list, that I can provide something more intimate and provide a opportunity for the results to come out a little bit more speedy than most, because the editing process is long. If you're looking to start this, the editing process is what you're going to have to learn after you learn all the camera stuff. So I always like to have a quick turnaround. I want people to get the photos as quickly as possible. I want the experience to be intimate. I want it to be personable. And I want them to come out of it feeling like they made the right choice, not just so much for the images, but the experience that they had.
So when people hear the name Shutter Media, what do you want them to think of? First thing that comes to their mind.
I want them to think of a partnership. I want them to feel that there's a collaboration happening. They're getting a turnaround time that's quick and seamless. And realistically, I want the partnership to feel united, and I think that will ultimately bring out the best examples.
Right. So it feels like what you're trying to say is you want it to be, it's not just about capturing a perfectly shot photo.
Right.
It's mood, it's aesthetic, it's the energy, it's everything that's happening within that time. And you working with that client to make sure you capture all of that in a very small, image that they'll have forever.
That hits the nail on the head right there. That's exactly what we're trying to produce. When people hear the name, they want to know that they're getting exactly what they're looking for through me, and the collaboration is a partnership.
Right. Well, so far you've done a hell of a job, man. And you can see that in your work already, even at this early stage in the game. You should be proud of yourself.
Every client has led me to the next one, and that kind word has rejuvenated me to continue. Some people might have tried this in 6 months, 7 months. It's just not working through the camera side, but I'm letting those little wins, those little victories propel me to the next one, no matter how long it takes. This is the first time actually in my life that I've enjoyed learning everything that I can, soaking up as much information as I can, because it only makes me better and ready for that next client.
Right.
And like I said, being prepared allows me to get the results that I want and focus on that person or that client.
Absolutely.
In that situation.
And I'm assuming, like with most art, with the more experience you get, you almost add like a new tool or like a new weapon to your arsenal, right? So you're willing to take more risks, and that's where your style really starts to flesh out. And they're not only technically perfect, but you really have like your own personal style. And now it's like, well, no, I want to get a Rob photo. I want to get a Shutter Media photo.
But that's also the double-edged sword of this photography game. It's like, I bought the camera and it came with this lens and everything should be perfect.
Right.
Until you learn a little bit. Then you find out that the lens works better with this filter. And then you try to have to learn what the filter does. And then it's grown and grown and grown. Right. And there's always something more to buy. Like nobody knows that tonight we had to spend an extra hour getting one cord to make one thing work. Like the lights are set up, the audio.
Yeah. Yeah. Technical perfection is one thing, but you still got to leave room to take risks and be creative. I mean, I'm sure Jimi Hendrix's guitar worked perfectly when he first bought it, and then he strung it backwards and made epic music that no one else can duplicate. I don't think he was worried about if the notes were perfect. Obviously,
no, but it not that it's the same, but the relationship is kind. The camera doesn't make the photos.
Right.
The lens helps a little bit more than the camera does, but obviously, like Jimmy, that same guitar handed to some random guy in the crowd is not going to produce the same amazing results that he would on the same, even with that same setup. I've been working with somewhat a budget system, and I've been able to, I think, produce some higher quality things because, again, I don't think it's the equipment. I think it's how well you know how to use the equipment.
Absolutely.
And the ways that you can tweak it to your advantage so that it works for you.
Yeah.
Like right now, we're using a light that's not designed for what we're using it for right now. But that's the fun thing about all this. And I always enjoy figuring like, well, I don't like this. So what's that one little thing that I can change? And when the result works, it makes me so happy. I get giddy.
Right. So for the people that think they're going to buy a camera and be good overnight, just for the people watching this right now, realistically, if you don't want to divulge the number, you don't have to. But give us an idea about how much time you took to actually get to the level you're at now. Because as far as I know, this is all you've been doing.
Yeah. So it's been 8 months, and I'm like, if this is the full bottle here, I'm like still here.
And how much time have you been spending there? That's the important part.
I probably spend at least 2 to 3 hours minimum every day for 8 months. If it's not just watching a new YouTube video that helps me learn something, if it's
hundreds of hours so far, thus far.
Yeah, but that's what it takes to.
Right.
I don't think you can call yourself a photographer until you put in a little time.
Right.
Sure, you can go out, buy the camera tomorrow. You can take the pictures and everything tomorrow, but you'll learn pretty quickly that it's not just buy a camera and take some pictures, unless you don't really care about the mood of the pictures. Like I said,
Yeah, which is fine, but how dare you charge somebody and not care about the quality?
Yeah, that's part of it too. I feel so weird about charging people too, especially because it's been a lot of friends and family. But
No,
time is a real thing,
right?
And time is money.
Well, you got to remember, Rob, they're not paying for the hour they spent, taking pictures with you. They're paying for the investment that you made in your gear. They're paying for the hours of experience you spent, the time that you spent deliberating over various shots and all the prep work and everything. They're paying for the editing. I mean, Fred, no matter how much they love you, I mean, you still need to be compensated.
Maybe it's hard just because if they really knew how much I was enjoying it myself, the enjoyment factor that I got out of it, that I shouldn't probably charge anybody for it, because I enjoy it so much, especially when they post it or they get to see the final results and it's nothing but euphoria and happiness for something that they're now going to have forever. That's what one of my favorite parts is, knowing that they're going to have this for as long as they want.
Right.
And the fact that I can capture and create something for friends, family, and future clients down the road is what's keeping me going.
Awesome, man.
So my name's Rob with Shutter Media, and this has been another episode. In this one, we dove a little bit into the setup for a podcast and some of the results of that setup. So hopefully you learned a few things. I enjoyed teaching you along the way. If there's any comments or questions, just leave them down below. Please feel free to like and subscribe. And until the next episode, stay creating.
When can I book a session for me and my family?
But you're always on an open list with me. If you ever just want to, don't hesitate to ask.
Well, man, this has been a great time, man. Thanks for letting me be a part of your channel. Anybody for great pictures, great experiences, great time, make sure you check out Rob DiStefano at Shutter Media. Thanks, man.